want to tell you a little bit about how to do the scan and run reading, which you have to do for your assignment this week. All right, so here on the left, I have a section from your textbook, which is one you've already read. This is not the one you're going to do this week, but I'm just going to use it as an example for how to do this method. And then over here on the right is the worksheet that I've created to help you organize your thoughts before you read. Okay, so the first step in scan and run, the scan is what you do before you read, and the run is some strategies for using while you're reading. All right, so the first thing you want to do is survey headings and turn them into questions. Okay, so the only heading in this textbook is mass is how much and volume is how spacious, all right? Because if we're just reading section 2.3, this one doesn't actually have any subheadings. Some sections do, but this one doesn't. So really what I'm reading about is mass and volume. So what questions do I have about mass and volume? So they can be like, how do we measure mass? Or what units do we use for mass? All right, or how do we measure volume? Okay, lots of different questions you could ask. There's no right or wrong answer here. This is just to get your brain thinking about what maybe you could learn from this section. All right, then you want to capture the captions and visuals and summarize what you see. So as I look through the textbook here, often the figures can give you all the information you need from a specific section. All right, so here I've got a glass thing with a metal block in the middle, and it says that that's a standard kilogram. All right, and it's a cylinder that's platinum and iridium, which is kind of neat. But this is basically just the standard for how we determine what a kilogram is. So there's a standard for measuring kilograms, all right? And a kilogram is a unit, right? And then down here, I have the Earth, all right? Because it says a 1 kilogram solid gold bar resting on Earth weighs 2.2 pounds, okay? So pounds has to equal weight, and kilograms is equal to mass. That I just learned, okay? And it looks like mass stays constant no matter where we go. And the weight changes, all right? So we can see, we don't know why necessarily, but we can see from this image that the weight is different on Earth versus the moon versus in deep space. All right, so that's interesting. Are there any more pictures on the next page? All right, so here is another one. It says the volume of an object, no matter what its shape, can be measured by its displacement of water. When this rock is immersed in water, the volume, or the rise in the water equals the volume of the rock. Okay, so here you can see that it goes from about 50 up to about 60, right? And that's our volume. So volume can be measured by displacement. All right, and then this other thing here is a concept check. So we're gonna skip that one for right now because it's not really an informative image. It's a different kind of question. All right, so then the next thing that we want to do is attack boldface words, all right? So your textbook makes it really convenient to know which words it expects are new for you, and they make them bold. So if you look up those words ahead of time, you can be a better reader because you'll know the words that you're going to encounter and don't have to stop your reading to do definition searching. So mass, and it tells us in our reading here, is a quantitative measure of how much matter a material object contains. So that's how much matter in an object. All right. My J is not working. Okay. And then if we go down, weight. So what is weight? It's the gravitational force exerted on an object by its most massive nearby body, such as Earth. So that is basically gravitational force exerted on an object. Okay? So those are our bold words. So one more, volume. So volume is how much space that material occupies. And these definitions are going to be better if they're kind of in your own words, to the best that you can do them, and not just based on, writing down exactly the definition in the glossary in your book. All right, and then finally, note the questions you hope to be able to answer at the end of the section. So this might be a question I've given you, as in the case for the assignment that you have to do this week, or it could be a question that's in your book. So sometimes there are questions at the end of the section. This one doesn't have one, but it does have a concept check in the middle. So that question is there gravity on the moon? So we don't yet know the answer to that, or maybe you do, but that's one question that you could potentially ask. Or perhaps I have given you a task of figuring out, how do we measure mass and weight, for example. Maybe I've told you that you're going to have to do a lab like that, and you need to know how to do that. Okay, so now we've done some pre-reading, and we know sort of what to expect from this reading, which makes it a little less intimidating. All right, and now when you go to read, you're going to use the run strategy. All right, so you want to read and adjust your speed depending on the difficulty or the relevance. So if you are not reading a part that's particularly important for what you're trying to find out, you might be able to skim through it a little bit faster. All right, so when you're reading, you want to use your word identification skills for any words that aren't familiar. All right, so for example, kilogram. And maybe you don't know what a kilogram is, but you know what a gram is. And so maybe, if we read a little more, it tells us that kilo means 1,000. And so you can sort of deduce from there that, a kilogram is just 1,000 times bigger than a gram. All right, so split a word apart and see if that helps you figure out what it means, or go back up to the definitions you wrote at the beginning to help you process those words as you read. And then the last thing you want to do while you're reading is notice and check parts that you do not understand. So you want to make notes in the margin if this is a physical book, or you can just make note in your Google Doc about what things you may need to go back and reread or ask questions about later if you didn't understand them. Okay, so that's basically the strategies that you want to use. And if you have any questions, please send me an email and I'll be happy to help.